In this lesson, students learn to solve elapsed time situations involving real-life scenarios using either a T-chart or an open number line. Students in 3rd grade have learned to tell time to the minute, to add with regrouping if needed, and to subtract with any needed regrouping. We are extending those skills and combining them to be able to find the difference between two separate times or to find an elapsed time. Students are practicing these skills in their own classrooms using a realistic airline schedule. Elapsed time means to measure the time that passes between one point, which we'll call the start time, and another point, which we'll call the stop time. Using models such as a number line or a T-chart to solve tasks is an important practice that deepens student understanding. Elementary-age children may have the opportunity to attend a sports camp at a local community college on a summer day. Let's assume that they are given a schedule of the different techniques that they will practice at specific times throughout the day. The schedule may look something like this. Using the schedule, students may construct an open number line to solve the following elapsed time problems. Tim begins to feel hungry as soon as conditioning begins, but he forgot his snacks for the day. He has to wait until lunch to get something to eat. How long must Tim wait? We see that conditioning begins at 9 o'clock, but lunch is not until 11:45. Using the open number line, we'll begin by making a hash mark at the beginning and marking our start time of 9 a.m. We want to find the difference between 9 a.m. and 11:45. I will make 1-hour jumps first. We can make a 1-hour jump to bring us to 10 o'clock. We'll make a second 1-hour jump to bring us to 11 o'clock. If we were to make a 3rd hour jump, it would be too far. So now I'm going to begin by adding minutes. I'm going to add minutes in 10-minute chunks. I will go from 11 to 11:10 with a 10-minute jump, to 11:20 with our second 10-minute jump, to 11:30 with our third 10-minute jump, and to 11:40 with our fourth 10-minute jump. At that point, your student can choose to go by either 5 1-minute jumps or a 5-minute jump that will bring them to 11:45. We can see from our open number line that students have made 2 1-hour jumps, bringing us 2 hours, 4 10-minute jumps, which means 40 minutes, and we'll add on the last 5-minute jump, bringing us to a total of 2 hours and 45 minutes that have passed between 9 a.m. and 11:45. 2 hours and 45 minutes is our elapsed time. A T-chart could be used as a model to show this exact same problem in a different way. I'll put 9 a.m. under the start time on our T-chart. Then I'll move forward by 1-hour chunks. I can add or bank 1 hour, bringing me to 10 o'clock. Then if I add or bank a second hour, I'll be at 11 o'clock. Now I need to move on and add the minutes. I'll do that in 10-minute chunks. We need to go from 11 o'clock to 11:45. So I'll add my first 10-minute chunk, which brings me to 11:10, a second 10-minute chunk bringing me to 11:20, a third 10-minute chunk which brings us to 11:30, and our last 10-minute chunk bringing us to 11:40. At that point, students will go ahead and add 5 minutes more onto their minute chart, which brings them to our stop time of 11:45. Using the T-chart, students will be able to summarize that they have moved forward in time 2 hours and 45 minutes. So our elapsed time between the start of conditioning and lunchtime for Tim is 2 hours and 45 minutes. What if we asked, how long does the soccer camp last? We can use both the open number line and the T-chart to find this elapsed time solution as well. First, we'll make a hash mark on our open number line at 8:30 to show the start time for our soccer camp. Then we'll begin by adding 1-hour jumps. 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30. I need to add my first chunk of 10 minutes, which brings me to 3:40. At that point, students may go ahead and add a 5-minute chunk, which brings them to 3:45. I can see that the elapsed time that has passed during the soccer camp comes to a total of 7 hours and 15 minutes. We can go ahead and work this same problem using the T-chart model. We'll mark our start time as 8:30 when students arrive. We'll then mark down sets of 1 hour. When I add my first hour, I'm brought to 9:30. Another hour brings me to 10:30. Another hour to 11:30, and a fourth hour to 12:30. The next hour brings us forward to 1:30. The next brings us to 2:30, and one more hour brings us to 3:30. We can show that we've gained 7 hours in time. Now we'll go ahead and show the minutes. When I add my first set of 10 minutes, that brings me to 3:40, and then students can either add 5 1-minute chunks or a chunk of 5 minutes, bringing them to the final stop time for the soccer camp, which is 3:45. We can see that we've banked 7 hours and 15 minutes. So our elapsed time for the soccer camp was 7 hours and 15 minutes. In this lesson, students learned how to use a visual model to solve elapsed time situations using an open number line or a T-chart.